Governor John Kasich on the phone right now. Governor Kasich, thank you so much for joining me. This is Tanya O'Rourke along with Kristen Hartman, who is joining you. Thank you for being with us. What can you tell us at this point?
Well, what I can tell you is that the law enforcement in Cincinnati did a fantastic job in responding. I don't know how much has come out in the news or really how much I can reveal, but there is a loss of life. There are more people, a few more people that are injured. I've talked to the mayor. All of the folks in my public safety have been in touch with your officers in Cincinnati, and as we know, the situation is now controlled, and it's just terrible. I'm in a meeting in New York on the rating agency, the strength of our state, and I just walked in and said, look, hug the ones you love, because you just never know. You just never know what's going to happen in this world today, and it's just terrible. I mean, I couldn't even imagine the calls that have to go out to the loved ones saying, here's what's happened. I mean, when that phone rings, you put yourself in their shoes. It's just a black, dark hole. So we grieve for the loss of life, and we also want to stand with those who were injured and their families. What can you say? It's just a terrible, terrible situation.
This is Kristen Hartman. This is a heart cause for you. Why is this such a heart cause for you?
Well, look, I was, when I was a much younger man, I got a phone call that my mother and father, my father was dead and my mother was going to die, hit by a drunk driver. And, so I remember the pain. I've recovered. I mean, what I can say is that the sun does come up. I just wrote a note to a 15-year-old boy who lost his father. Father was in his 40s, and I wrote to the boy and told him how tough it was, and it is for him. But someday the sun will come up, and ask the Lord to help you. And so, Kristen, when I hear these things, it's not like I have a flashback, but I can't understand when I slow my life down and think about what the calls that they're getting and how the families come and gather and the neighbors and the loved ones. It's just really, it's the hardest thing in life to lose somebody that you love in an instant, in a moment when you least expected it.
Yeah. Governor, if you, as the governor of this state, we see mass shootings happening all over the country, but to have one happen in your state at this time, talk to me about what the folks at home, comfort them in some way about what is happening in our city here, Cincinnati.
Well, we don't know enough about the shooter. We don't know their mental condition. We don't know what really happened, if this was perhaps a relationship situation. So we don't want to jump to any conclusions. I think it is very important, however, that the ability to have the resources available to deal with those who are deeply troubled or those who at moments in time are unstable, those resources are absolutely critical. In terms of what we need to do with guns, there's a lot I could say, but this is really not the time for me to be talking about that. That's something that can be talked about in the next few days. But it's clear that in a world where things are moving so fast, and in a world where it seems as though we're not as connected to one another as maybe we used to be, that it's so important that we look out for those that we work with, that those in our family, and that we're willing to stand up and at times say that, you need to have some help. My wife and I were watching television the other night, and there was a spot that came on with Michael Phelps, the great swimmer, and his message was, he spent a large part of his life staring at the bottom of a swimming pool, and he goes on to say, to paraphrase, that I wish I had interacted more. And he had difficulty, and he has emerged and is a very healthy hero here in America, but talked about the fact that if you need help, you need to get it. You need to resolve these things, and you can't always do it on your own, and we don't always spot it. We just got to do the best we can do, and know that we're not always going to be successful.
Governor Kasich, when you say we need to do the best we can do, what is the best we can do in this moment?
Well, the first thing I think we can do is to make sure that when we are all together tonight at dinner, we tell our loved ones how much we care about them. Secondly, for those who are in a dispute, unfortunately, with a family member, get over it. Heal it as best you can, even when it's tough. And say your prayers. Say your prayers for these people. That's a new thing now, thoughts and prayers and all that. But I do believe, Kristen, I believe deeply that the Lord knows what's going on. He didn't make these things happen. Why He doesn't prevent them, that's going to be a question for all of us to ask one day. But perhaps when we get there, we'll fall on our knees and everything will be understood. That's kind of my belief and my faith. And keep your eyes open. And sometimes stick your nose in other people's business. As crazy as that sounds. I can remember as a boy when I would do things and the neighbor lady would call my mother, and my mother would, get out the wooden spoon and give me a little swat. And I really didn't like that neighbor lady, but if I could see her today, I would thank her for the fact that she was concerned about me. So we've got to be concerned about our brothers and sisters that we see.
Governor, you said that you have reached out to the mayor of Cincinnati, and he says you have as well. You've offered all types of support. What kind of support could the state give the city at this time? Well,
they're a top-rated unit down there. They really know what they're doing, but there may be some after-action, that police officers have to go through who are in the middle of something like this, a shootout.
Are you talking about like a mental health services type of thing?
Well, we have a lot. We have services that we can offer, maybe stress-related kinds of things that we could help with. That would be something that I would encourage you to talk to our highway patrol about. But whatever they need down there, we'll deliver. Whatever you need, our people will be there, and we're aware of the fact that our officers, find themselves in very difficult situations at times, and it's not like you just wake up tomorrow and go back to work. There's things you have to deal with based on the things that you participated in and the things that you saw.
And Governor Kasich, what do you say to Ohioans about the capriciousness of what happened today? How do you put them at ease?
Well, I've just got two daughters that have gone to college, and one is in the South and the other one is in Chicago, and we just don't know what can happen. We say our prayers and tell people to be mindful, keep your eyes open, and just be aware. I think that's it. But we don't want to just lock ourselves in our homes. This is just part of what's happening in our country, in our culture today. But it's not a reason to curl up in a ball and say I'm not going to go outside. We have to be strong, and we will be fine.
In the coming days, do you expect there to be a debate or a dialogue on a renewed dialogue on guns and gun control?
I just think now, I know, Kristen, my strong feelings about this, but now's not the time.
Okay.
Let's ask the question in a day or two.
We will.
And let's just put our minds on the families that have lost people.
But Governor, as you mentioned, in New York, talking about rating for the state of Ohio, and there are perception issues when these types of things happen in different communities. What would you say to folks outside of Cincinnati then about this area and about our state? And this is just an unfortunate situation, isn't it?
Well, it's a terrible situation, and we've gone through this in other communities in Ohio. But we're a strong state. We're a resilient state. This isn't going to pull us down. And again, I think just not to be repetitive, just to keep in mind what we all can do as individuals to make sure that we see somebody who's having a problem, see if there's something we can do to help fix it.
All right. Governor John Kasich, thank you for giving
Thank
us your
you.
time this
Thank you,
morning.
Governor.